The Kingdom of Cappadocia. In the Kingdom of Cappadocia, I worked at a luxurious hotel, carved into the living rock, one of those places that offered its visitors a quiet, almost magical delight. Dressed in my white shirt, black midi skirt, and black shoes, I stood across from the reception desk. For some reason, I became curious about my own name. I leaned down and looked at the badge pinned to my collar. Callisto. That's an unusual name, I murmured to myself. When I lifted my head again, I noticed a young man walking toward me. Tall and strikingly handsome, he wore a white shirt, black trousers, and black shoes, just like the rest of the staff. I felt strangely unprepared, as if I had been caught off guard. My heart began beating noisily in my chest. His badge was red, mine was blue. I tried to read his name. Simati. What is it with these names? I thought. The young man said calmly, "Miss Callisto, your guest's vehicle has landed at the airport. You need to go there immediately. Welcome her and bring her to the hotel. The details are in the file." He paused briefly, then added in the same even tone, "Please be polite." When he said, "Please be polite," I couldn't tell whether it was merely a formality or a subtle warning because I had a reputation for rudeness. His face revealed nothing. There was not a single expression to guide me. Was it the nature of professional life that had turned him so cold? Or had he been manufactured without facial expressions altogether? Some emotionless being whose design simply hadn't included them. Without another word, he placed an impossibly thin black tablet into my hands and gestured toward the door. I hurried outside. A jet black Jeep was waiting at the entrance. I climbed in, and the driver pulled onto the road without bothering to speak to me. On every side of the road rose the magnificent fairy chimneys of Cappadocia. The morning sun played hide and seek inside their hollowed cavities, and fairies, dressed in garments, woven from grains of light, seemed to flutter around their stony towers. Even though the brightness made my eyes sting, I would have gladly watched that landscape for the entire journey, but there were things I needed to know about our guest. I picked up the tablet. The screen was pitch black. The moment my finger touched the exact center, a head, glowing like a blue sphere of light, shot out of the screen. I let out a small scream of fright and dropped the tablet. The driver finally paid attention to me, and he asked, "Is something wrong?" I quickly picked the tablet up from the floor and said hastily, No, I just thought there was a spider in my hand for a moment." But there wasn't. It was the only lie I could think of. The driver grumbled, "Because of the foreign visitors, I clean this car down to the smallest detail all the time. Who knows what they bring from their own planets into our world? The authorities take no precautions at all. They don't even care. I understand why you'd feel uneasy." His voice gradually faded into a murmuring complaint. All I could manage in response was a faint, I had absolutely no idea what he was talking about. At that moment, I caught my reflection in the rearview mirror. My hair was jet black, tied back in a ponytail, and my eyes were the color of honey. Had I chosen to work in tourism simply because I was beautiful? I narrowed my eyes slightly, trying to remember something, anything about myself. The driver continued talking. They inspect everyone at the main landing port. But if you ask me, it's still not enough. I nodded gently, as if I understood and agreed with him. Then I touched the center of the tablet again with my index finger. The screen, which had gone dark once more, lit up, and the blue head reappeared and started to speak. To open the visitor introduction file, say Alpha. To view the visitor's vacation schedule, say Beta. To access the visitor's Earth orientation education records, say Gamma. To see the visitor's return plan, say Delta. If you have another question, say Epsilon, and then please state your inquiry. Suddenly, I remembered the first time I had stood at the blackboard. In primary school for an oral exam. All my classmates had been staring at me. In the teacher's hand waited a ruler that would sting like nettles against my palm the moment I answered incorrectly. My voice had trembled just like this that day. Alpha, I said. At once, information began flowing before me, visual, written, and spoken. All at once, I was staring at a creature with a small head and a short stature. Its hair looked strange, almost plastic, curled as if it had been permed. It wore a sea green mini dress and long sea green stockings. Its eyes were enormous, its lips tiny. I thought it was female. Yes, almost certainly female. But its body did not share the proportions or symmetry of a human body. I glanced at the name written in the file. Perm. I laughed quietly. So this was our visitor. But what if I burst out laughing the moment I saw her in person? The driver suddenly stopped the car. He was putting on a mouth mask. Then he began sliding plastic gloves over his hands. He was definitely human. He said casually, "Don't mind me. I just like being cautious. You can get out and welcome your guest." Then I lowered the window and looked outside. The fairies were gone. So were the chimneys. My mouth fell open. I pushed my chin upward with my hand and closed it again. We were standing in the middle of an endless, perfectly flat plain. The sky was different. In fact, it had no face at all. We had arrived somewhere where the sky simply didn't exist, yet I could see the stars. It was neither day nor night. Hundreds of vehicles had landed across the vast field, each one shaped in a different geometric form. Some were descending, others rising. When they lifted off, they left behind tiny bursts of light before vanishing abruptly. Then I noticed a floating inscription drifting through the air like a hologram. Welcome to the Earth Gateway of the Intergalactic Flight Lines. I didn't know which language it was written in, yet somehow I could read and understand it. I opened the door and stepped out cautiously. Walking around the back of the vehicle, I moved to the other side. A short distance away, a green spacecraft hovered about 100 meters above the ground. It was thin, almost like an elliptical tray, and it stood vertically in the air. A circular opening appeared on the side facing the ground. From it descended a cylindrical elevator made of green light. My assigned guest, Miss Perm, came down inside it. When she saw us, especially me, she smiled. As soon as she stepped out of the glowing cylinder, 3 crates materialized behind her. The driver walked past her toward the crates. "Welcome to our world, ma'am," he said politely, already lifting them. He carried them toward the car. So that must be how I was supposed to speak as well. I arranged a pleasant smile on my face and said, "Welcome to our world, Miss Perm. I am Callisto, the staff member assigned to assist you. Please step into the vehicle and make yourself comfortable." I opened the Jeep's door and seated her in the back. Most likely, I was now supposed to sit in the front beside the driver, and honestly, I preferred it that way. Sitting next to an extraterrestrial made me slightly uneasy. When we had entered the area earlier, I had been busy studying the information about the visitor on my tablet, so I hadn't noticed how or where we had arrived. This time, I decided to watch everything carefully. I had expected it to take a long time to leave that enormous field, but once the car started moving, we were suddenly out of it. Just like that. We passed through the emptiness and returned to the fairy chimneys, as if we had crossed an invisible wall. Had humanity ever truly managed to perceive nothingness? When we reached the hotel, I helped Miss Perm settle into her room. It was a large chamber carved directly into the rock. Stone walls, a massive double bed, and deep burgundy velvet curtains framing the windows. I would be staying in the small staff room next door. If she needed anything, she could simply use the call device in her room to summon me. Would I have shown the same courage she had? I didn't know. It couldn't be easy, leaving your own planet and traveling to another. I was placing the contents of Miss Perm's crates into the wardrobes. While she stood by the window, gazing out at the breathtaking view outside, something that looked almost like a fairy tale even to someone who belonged to this world. "If you like, I could bring you some tea or coffee," I offered. Perm replied gently, "No, thank you. We do not consume liquids." "I see," I said quickly. "My apologies." I don't understand, I thought to myself. How can someone not consume liquids? I should have gathered more information from the tablet. Now, I must have left the impression of an incompetent staff member. After all, she's not human, at least not like us. And she doesn't have to be like us. "This is my first visit to the planet Earth," Perm said, still gazing out at the view. "In our galaxy, this place is quite popular. I was told that here one can taste pleasures, emotions, and experiences that do not exist on other planets. Even the simple joy of looking at this landscape seems enough to prove that, for now." A question rose inside me. "What is your planet like? Aren't there beautiful places there too? But I didn't ask it. Perhaps I was already supposed to know the answer to such a basic question. Not wanting to draw attention to my ignorance, I remained silent. Once I finished arranging her belongings, I slipped quietly into my own room. After my guest finished her dinner on the terrace that evening, she returned to her room. I did the same, retreating to mine, deciding it was time to rest and sleep. Perm lay on her back upon the great bed set between the stone walls, sinking into its soft coverings. She stared at the ceiling. She had never seen a place like this in her life. The room was bright. She had not wanted to turn off the lights. Even though she believed the place to be safe, she was very far from her planet, far from her homeland. The people of Earth had treated her kindly, very kindly, in fact. She had encountered nothing unpleasant, nothing hostile. And yet she felt uneasy. She decided to perform her sleep transition ritual. Still lying on her back, she raised her right arm toward the ceiling and pointed straight upward with her index finger. Under her breath, she murmured a few words in her own language. The moment her hand fell back onto the bed, she drifted into sleep. Sometime later, a scream echoed through the entire hotel. It was Permy, a scream so powerful that one would never expect it to come from such a small body. The hotel owner and staff were accustomed to this sort of thing, but Callisto knew nothing about it. She sprang from her bed and ran to Perm's room, still wearing her pajamas. Without knocking, without asking permission, she burst inside. Permy was spinning in frantic circles around the room. Her short legs naturally made each turn take longer than it should. When I entered the room, she was talking to herself. How is this possible? How can you allow such a thing to happen? How can you take no precautions? How can you not prevent it, not even see it coming? Her voice trembled with fear, filled with angry outbursts, almost on the verge of tears. She was out of breath, waving her hands up and down as she continued pacing around the room. Monstrous creatures entered my room with torches in their hands. They took me to the top of a mountain and said they would sacrifice me to giants. I screamed. I called for help. No one came. I somehow found a way to escape them. I don't even remember how. Then they chased me for hours. I managed to come down from the mountain and hid in the streets of the kingdom. I managed to throw them off my trail and returned to the hotel. I don't even remember how I made it back to my room. My mouth had fallen open again. Slowly, I pushed my jaw upward with my hand. I was staring at her blankly, wondering what on earth she was talking about, when a voice behind me made me flinch. Miss Perm, you were informed about dreams before coming to Earth, weren't you? It was Samadhi. He stood leaning against the doorframe with one hand, looking tired. His work clothes were still on him. When Permy saw him, she stopped pacing and answered sharply, "Yes, I received all the training." Your planet may not have a dream realm, Samadhi replied calmly. But it is an important and deeply layered part of our world. On Earth, all beings dream, whether they are aware of it or not. It is natural. Nothing you experienced tonight actually happened in this realm. But Perm protested, "No, I don't believe it." "It was real. I felt it. Even my legs are tired from running all night. A dream cannot be something like that." Samadhi walked over and stopped beside me, folding his arms across his chest, and he asked, "What time did you fall asleep?" "It was around 9, nearly 9. Perme answered. Samadhi looked confident and calm. He asked, "And how long were you outside the hotel, being captured, escaping, climbing up and down a mountain?" Perme responded, 5 hours, maybe 6, perhaps even longer." Samadhi pointed to the clock. The digital display read 9:45. Perme was confused. "No! That's impossible! How could this... Samadhi turned to me and looked at me as if trying to understand something. "There's something strange about you today," he said flatly. "Please attend to your guest." Then he left the room. So that was the meaning behind their repeated insistence that I should take care of my guest. I hadn't understood it at all. I felt like an idiot. Miss Perm sat down on the edge of the bed and began thinking. I asked permission and took a seat in the armchair opposite her. She said quietly, "To believe that everything I experienced was only a dream. It's very difficult," and asked, "How do you live with something like that?" "Only a dream. Merely a dream. Made of dreams." What was I supposed to tell this woman? That it wasn't real, only a dream? But was a dream not real? The word real describes only one realm, yet there are realms within realms. Are the others not real as well? Then where am I? If it is a hand, it is a hand. If it is an eye, it is an eye. "I like dreams," I said at last. "As long as we have known ourselves, we have dreamed. Because it is a part of us, I have never found it strange. When we were children, we cried when we had nightmares. Then they would convince us that what we saw was not real, and we would quiet down. When you grow up constantly hearing that it isn't real, you begin to ignore it. But in truth, it is a magnificent and precious journey. It carries you through realms without the burden of your body, free from time and place. You travel across worlds, yet people belittle it. They say, it was only a dream, it passed. Perhaps its value will be understood when they say the same about life itself. It was only life, it passed. Now we have awakened. Which one is sleep? Which one is reality? Which one is the dream? The truth is within Adam. The universe is within the human. The human is within the universe. To fail to notice infinity is worse than being lost inside it. When I woke up, I found myself shivering from the cold, clinging to the crimson blue feathers on the back of the phoenix. "Wish for a cup of hot tea and a blanket," it said. So I wished. I drank my warm tea. From above, the Kingdom of Cappadocia looked white and peaceful. When the falling snow swallowed every sound, the serenity that remained was something I could never find anywhere else in the realm of Earth. The end.